Audio warp has a lot of features tied to it. Let's talk about feature number 1. Tempo match any audio loop to the project's tempo. By the way, if you have ACID loops, these can automatically be imported into CUBASE and their tempo information will be read. ACID files can then be time stretched in real time to the tempo of CUBASE. So let's pick one of these loops in the pool and drop it to our project page. Now let's double click on it. This will take us into the sample editor. Select the Audio Tempo Definition tool. You might not be able to see everything, so uncheck the auto scroll, snap to 0 crossfade, and the selection controls. Enter the number of bars the audio file is. Mine's only 1 bar. CUBASE automatically finds the tempo. Then press the musical mode button. Next is the warp setting. It is used for the audio quality of the real-time audio warp time stretching. If you're warping drums, like in our case, then we want to change this to drums. Let's close this window. And you'll notice a little symbol at the bottom of our audio event here. This tells us that the audio file has the musical mode turned on. Now this audio file will warp to any tempo in CUBASE. I'm going to create a loop from bar 1 to bar 2. Let's press the loop button and press play. We can turn off our click if we want. And let's change the tempo here. Change it to 90. How about to 70? Now let's go to 100. 115. 125. 145. They're a quick and easy way to lock audio files to the tempo of CUBASE. The next section deals with taking an audio file that has various tempo fluctuations and locking them into a fixed tempo. I'm going to erase this file, go into my pool, and grab the file here called Drum Groove. I'm going to double click on it and enter the sample editor. So let's listen to this first and hear how out of time it is. Speeds up there, slightly out of time there. Speed up, slow down again. There's slight variations, but it's all over the place. Make sure the Audio Tempo Definition tool is selected again, and do the same thing you did for the first audio file in this video. Find out how many bars and beats it is. CUBASE has detected that it's 13 bars, and I know that's right because I know this audio file. Turn on musical mode, and make sure the warp setting is set correctly. Now select the Warp Samples tool. Now you can click on the audio file and drag it to the nearest beat. Do this for all of them until it looks good. All you have to do is click and move. If this seems like a long process, well, it kind of is. There's an even easier way, which I'll show you in a second. What you're actually doing is time stretching every beat so that it lines up with the tempo of CUBASE. This may take a bit of time, but it's well worth it. You can undo your mistakes, or you can shift-click on the ruler to erase a warp tab. Now take a listen. All the out-of-time playing is now in time. Mind you, we're playing at the new tempo that I've put in with the last audio file. Let's change the tempo back to about 120, which is the original tempo of the audio file. There, a perfectly on-time audio file that was out of time before. In this third section, we're going to do the same as the last section, but use hit points to speed things up. Let's undo what we've done here and go back into the sample editor. Click on the hit point edit button. You can change some of these settings, but I'm just going to hit the process button. Hit points will find all the important peaks of this audio file, and then we can turn these into warp tabs, then quantize the audio. You can change the hit point sensitivity slider so that it detects more or less of the hit points, and then we can add or delete hit points. To add, hold down Alt and click, and for delete, just drag them off the screen. I'm going to move across the screen, making sure that I have all the important beats that I feel will be important to quantizing this audio. This is going a lot quicker. And there, we're done. Once you have all your hit points, you can turn these into warp tabs by selecting Create Warp Tabs from Hit Points under the submenu Real-Time Processing under the Audio menu. When you do this, you won't see any immediate changes, but if you press the Warp Samples button, you'll see all the warp samples that have been added. You don't need to view the hit points anymore, so we can turn them off. Now close the sample editor and let's quantize this on the project page. Select a quantize value from the snap menu and then choose Quantize Audio under the submenu Real-Time Processing. Let's turn on the click to verify this. The last thing we can do that falls under the audio warp feature list is transpose audio events in real time. Let's take the Don't You demo song and transpose some audio files. I've got the Don't You demo song up and loaded now. I've highlighted all the audio files except the drum files because I don't need those transposed. Let's go to the beginning of our song and start the transposition at 0. This can be found by clicking on the info line button. Let's transpose these up of 2 semitones. Now let's make this -2. And then put it back. It's pretty amazing that we can time stretch individual audio files or the whole entire song just by pressing a quick button right here. And just as a side note, you can cut an audio file into many pieces and have each of them transposed to a different transposition. This one will be 2. I'll put this up 4 semitones. I'll put this at -2 semitones, and this one back to 0. So 2, 4, -2, back to 0. The audio warp features are very powerful.